Hey everybody. Every year, E3 shows us some of the biggest upcoming titles. I'm your host, MechaWill, and today we're going to be talking about Sony's 2017 E3 press conference. Let's go. So the first thing I'd like to start off with is my overall thoughts and opinions on how the conference went. So I'm going to start right off by saying that I think E3 2017, and this is probably going to be repeated a lot in a lot of games media, and you've probably seen it in journalism too, was a really underwhelming year. As much as I wanted it to be, Night of Dreams 3 or whatever, because I'm a big Sony fan, and the last two press conferences were pretty mind-boggling about how much crazy stuff was thrown at us. And I was really hoping that they'd have even more tricks up their sleeves this year. And I'd say the biggest downside to this press conference for me was that they didn't. There's a few things that really did surprise me, and I'd like to talk about that later down the line in the video. But I want to start off and say that I think that the conferences in general were underwhelming, including Sony's. And but that being said, I think that Sony's was probably one of the best of the night. Maybe because they showed some titles that I'm really interested in and would like to delve in a little bit more about. So how does it stack up to the other showcases? Well, Sony had their performance last night. If you guys missed it, there's a live stream up on Sony's PlayStation site. You can take a look at that and see for yourself what you think of it. But I thought that it stacked up pretty well. Like I said, with all these underwhelming performances, there's not really too much you can do to set yourself above the rest. Everybody kind of showed games that we're looking forward to, and maybe that's all that it's about. But for me, E3 has always been this special showcase where you see this stuff that you never thought you'd see. You'd see surprises and you see tricks, and you see games that are a little farther off but more exciting to kind of build up the hype. And I was hoping for more of that. So I'd give their press conference a pretty solid rating, but it wasn't anything special this year, unfortunately. They did talk about a lot of games, so we're going to go over a list of the games that they talked about. So they opened with, if I remember, I watched the conference a few times, they opened with the Horizon DLC and Uncharted's DLC. Both obviously really great games. If you've never played Uncharted 4, it's one of Naughty Dog's masterpieces. Naughty Dog has been producing these games for the past couple of years. It's the final Uncharted, so it's a great time to go through, play the entire series. It's all available on PS4. Really great action adventure cinematic story pieces. And then Horizon, of course, was the big hit that came out of Guerrilla Games. A really fresh take for their studio. Instead of their normal Killzone franchise, they brought us this really cool open world RPG. Very colorful, great graphics, PlayStation 4 Pro support, which is something that I'd like to see more of in the future, and just really great storytelling. After that, they showed us a couple of other things I was really interested in. The first surprise of my night, and the thing that I think was one of their upsides of their conference, and I might be a little biased because, well, the cable's not gonna show it because I have a PlayStation VR unit. They showed off Skyrim in VR. Now, Skyrim obviously is the game Bethesda's been milking for about 6 or 7 years now, but there's a reason, because it's a really immersive game. Some of the writing is a little bit off, but there's a lot of quest lines. There's a lot of really cool things that you can do in there, and the world building is immaculate. You've got all sorts of things that you can do. I've gone through the game pretty much once a year since it came out, and there's always new things that I find. So the best thing that they could have possibly announced to sell me on this VR unit that's kind of gaining dust over there since Resident Evil 7 came out is to show me a game that I could immerse myself in, and Skyrim is that game. At least for me, it's a huge title for VR to get, especially on the PlayStation VR, which has been lacking some titles. The last title to come out was, the big title to come out was Farpoint, which is a shooter game and did relatively well, but I'm more of a fantasy guy. I'm more of an RPG guy, and I love seeing new IP and new games come out for a system, but I think that something like PSVR deserves something like Skyrim VR. So that was one of my big surprises. Really enjoyed it. They also showed off a couple of really cool VR games. I didn't think the section was too long as part of the press conference, but I do think that there are a few games I was interested in. The Inpatient was a game, or I guess is a game that's being developed by Supermassive Games. So Supermassive, their big hit of 2015, I think summer 2015, was Until Dawn. If you've never played that game, it's a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Another really great cinematic game, but with branching story paths. It's a horror game, and it's a really cool way to kind of tell a story between multiple character points of view. And that's what I really enjoyed about the game. So now they're coming with a VR experience, and it's a psychological horror thriller game, and I couldn't be more excited. I think the hugest application for VR is horror. That's where you're going to be seeing a lot of psychological horror games come out. You're going to be seeing just a ton of these, like, really, because it gets in your head, man. You're in the VR unit, especially this happened with Resident Evil, man, and your brain just kind of disconnects in a way that you don't really understand. It's not like playing a game with a controller. It is really something different where you can get very easily spooked. Your heart rate's going to rise, and I love that kind of stuff. So I'm really glad to see Supermassive putting their hands on a new horror game, especially for VR. They showed off Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter is a game, that's normally it's been a 3DS game. It's normally a handheld game. It was exclusive to the 3DS for a long time, and I'm really excited to see that coming to the PlayStation platform. It's also, I believe, coming to Xbox and PC. But it was really cool to have that appear at Sony's showcase. If you don't know what Monster Hunter is, it's another kind of RPG-like game where you've got, a lot of people equate it with Dark Souls, but there's different mechanics involved. But it's very much a JRPG involving lots of really cool monsters and scenarios. And you should look up some gameplay if you want to see more on it. It's a very cool game. So now they're going to be bringing that game to the big screen, console life. What up? I'm very excited. Monster Hunter World, go check it out. Great game. God of War, storied series. People know what that's about. God of War has been going on for a long time, but they've been in a rough patch. They haven't made a game in a few years. Last game to come out was God of War Ascension. Not that good. The problem with the series was that it was getting stale. The problem with God of War was you had this game that basically invented this hack and slash QTE genre that just, like, I don't know, it caused all sorts of copycats to come after. It's just done in this really, puzzle-based, like, platformer. I don't know, all sorts of features that made that game really cool. But once you've done it, you've kind of outdone it. The game wasn't known for in-depth character storylines. It wasn't known for, these arcs. It was a fun game that you could sit down and play, and they really needed to do something else with it. This is Cory Barlog, I believe his name is pronounced. I don't want to say Balrog because it sounds like the Lord of the Rings creature. But, it's his brainchild, and he's at the helm yet again. But he's going to be making it in a different way. And if you watch the trailer, you get to see, oh, man, the good stuff that you know from God of War. Frantic combat, combo-based, attacks and follow-ups. And then you've got massive creatures like the serpent that appeared in the trailer, which, hopefully I've got some of the trailers rolling up there. And you can probably check those out. But you've got something that's more behind the right shoulder, like camera view, something that's inspired by, like, The Last of Us and the Uncharted series and what Naughty Dog's been doing, and Tomb Raider, and some of these, like, really very, like, in-depth story-based, like, action-adventure games. And I'm really excited to see God of War take another turn because it needed something fresh. And that's exactly what happened at this press conference. I'm really glad to see. There's nothing bad I can say about the game. The two trailers that I've seen so far are amazing, and I can't wait to see it. It's most likely coming out in March of 2018. PlayStation 4 exclusive. Obviously, it's made by Sony Santa Monica Studios, and very excited. What can I say was my biggest excitement of the night? Well, if you guys have watched this channel, you should know. You should know. But what's one of the games that I've finished on my channel that I've got a full, complete playthrough of? Even when I was having a bunch of hardware issues and moving around and stuff, it's Shadow of the Colossus, boys. And what do we have today? We've got a Shadow of the Colossus remake coming for PlayStation 4. There's nothing better. I think, my friend can attest to this. When this came up during the conference, I literally did a pirouette, half, like, jump out of my seat onto a couch that was nearby. I'm so excited for this game. You guys don't understand, or maybe you do. I think that my viewers understand that Shadow of the Colossus is one of, if not the greatest game of all time. It is one of the most fulfilling, immaculate, artistic expressions of what video games can be, and it does it in a way that's timeless. This game, I was not expecting this. Nobody was expecting this. Nobody asked for this, but we all want it. This gives a chance for people to play one of the greatest games of all time, at least one of the top 10 games that you must play on anybody's list. Shadow of the Colossus has got to be up there. Do yourselves a favor. Look up the Shadow of the Colossus remake trailer. They're remaking it from the ground up. Play it for yourself when it comes out on PlayStation 4. It was my surprise of the night, and I'm very happy to see that it's still in Sony's minds and hearts to bring out these games from Fumito Ueda and the Trico team and all the people at Sony Japan Studios. Very excited that we're going to be seeing that kind of stuff. Days Gone made an appearance at the show. Days Gone is a really cool game made by Sony Bend. Now, Sony Bend is a studio that we've been waiting to see something from for a long time. They've been working on this game for years and years and years, and you can see that in their gameplay. You've got this massive open world, a third-person adventure storyline, again, inspired by The Last of Us and Naughty Dog's work on Uncharted 4 and stuff like that. This sort of dark, very story-driven. There's zombies in the game. You're like a lone rider on a motorcycle with these gorgeous environments. I couldn't be more excited for this game. I think that it's got to get out of that zombie game shadow, because we're all tired of zombie games. I'm not just speaking for myself here. We're all tired of them. And every now and again, a zombie game comes along where zombies are in it, okay, but they do something unique with it that makes the game enjoyable to play. And I saw that with Dying Light. And I've seen that with a few other games, and I think that this game really needs to focus on a great story, a great adventure, a great open world to explore, awesome side quests that aren't just fetch quests. If they can keep the repetitiveness down, the uniqueness up, the zombies are going to be no problem. And I'm very excited for Sony Bend. They're a very talented studio. They're known for the Siphon Filter series. They did Uncharted Golden Abyss on the PlayStation Vita, another phenomenal game. Again, recommend you check it out because Days Gone is going to be a really big title for Sony, I think. They showed off Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Not much I can say about those games. I know some people are huge fans of Marvel vs. Capcom. Really great fighting games. Also check those out. Very happy to see that on Sony's stage last night. And, you've got Detroit Become Human. David Gaffey, I believe is his name. You're looking at Quantic Dreams. Studio made famous Heavy Rain. A lot of other really cool titles. Beyond Two Souls didn't do as well as Heavy Rain. Wasn't quite as good in my opinion. And you put this man in a room and you get these really cool, again, first-person oriented games that you're not first-person, but single-player oriented games that allow you to choose between a split path of different endings and outcomes. And that's really intriguing. That's a space that is explored, but I don't think enough in the video game industry, because the biggest thing that video games have over movies and entertainment in general is autonomy. It's the player's choices change what's going on in the story. You get to interact with the things that are going on. And I like the idea that of a video game where you interact with what's going on and that changes the outcome of what happens in the future. And this is one of those games that looks like it could be really cool. And I'm very excited to have it come out. The trailer that was shown, in my opinion, I think the other two trailers were better. And there's not much more they said about the game that hadn't already been said. So we're just waiting patiently for that game to come out. Destiny 2, Call of Duty, we've got some third-party, big games that made the way to the show floor. All I can say about both of those games is that they've got something to prove, and they ought to prove it. Destiny 2's got to build on their story. They've got to make sure that their environments are up to par. They've got to make sure that their lore's in depth. They've got the gameplay down. That's not what it's about anymore. Now it's about fostering a great community around a great game, and if they do that, I'm interested. Call of Duty, same thing. All right, you've got problems with stagnating sales where Call of Duty's been doing the same thing year and year after year, as much as they don't want to admit it. Now they got a chance to go back, do something a little bit more unique with World War II, and I just want to see something more than traditional Call of Duty. I know it's not the point of Call of Duty, but their campaigns are actually pretty good. I'd love to see if maybe Call of Duty made a longer campaign. Maybe if they focused their attention on some more unique systems in their multiplayer. I don't know. It would take a lot for me to be interested in Call of Duty again, but I think that maybe they can step up to the plate and do something about it. Now, the next game is Spider-Man. Spider-Man was what Sony closed with during this press conference. It was a really great trailer. If you're a fan of the Arkham games, if you're a fan of comic book games, if you're a fan of the Amazing Spider-Man that had come out a while ago, widely considered one of the best Spider-Man games, watch this trailer. Tell me what you think. They've got a really unique villain in Mr. Negative. They've got really cool gadgets that are showing off, movability, all the things that you want in a Spider-Man game. Cool set pieces, very cinematic. but the combat looks great, and I think that's the number one thing that they needed to nail. And Insomniac, they make great games. So having that development studio backed by Marvel and Sony, two big powerhouses, makes me really excited. And you can see what they did with the game. And all I can say is I wish it would have came out earlier, but I don't want to rush a game like this. An open world Spider-Man game is something that I think a lot of fans are going to be into. So now, Sony's presentation was great, as always. Sony always has this really massive theater that they rent out, and they take care in making sure that E3 is more than a press conference. It's a show. Microsoft likes to do this, with Forza cars and with a lot of glass and a lot of flash, and that is really appealing. It's really cool, but I love seeing Sony take different takes on this. Last year, we had a full classical orchestra in this just really old time theater, and now we've got a really cool live music intro. We've got all these effects that go on, some live acting performance. Again, this E3 was kind of underwhelming even in the performance department, but I think Sony's presentation is always so unique and so good. They've got a little class, they got a little sass, but it's really cool to watch, and they take care of their fans in that way. They understand that E3 is a show. It's not just for developers, it's for fans. And I'm glad that they did that, and I'm really excited to see what's going on at PSX later this year. And then, a lot of people have been asking me, what is my game of the show? Well, there's two things that I'd like to say. My personal game of the show is Shadow of the Colossus. I think that game was such a surprise to me, and it's such a beloved game to me. Even if it's a remake, maybe that doesn't count, but I think that was probably the moment where I put my hands up in the air and was like, yeah, this is awesome. The second game of the show, or what I think game of the show should be, which is the game that had the most impact throughout Sony's press conference, the thing that people will be talking about most at the end of it, is definitely going to be Spider-Man. You're looking at a game that had a really great, trailer, lots of story involved, cinematic, great action, and people are so engrossed into this franchise and into these characters. And Spider-Man is a cool character to explore, and I'm really excited to see more comic book games coming out of a high quality, because we needed more of that. The overall wow factor for me was a little bit on the downside. I was disappointed with Sony's offerings. I think that they put on a great show. Microsoft put on a great show as well, but the problem with both of their press conferences is that they checked off all the boxes. They did what they needed to. They just showed games. They didn't talk about TV nonsense. They know this stuff already, but it's more than that. You want crowd interactability. You want great surprises in games, and you just want this feeling of wonder, and nobody brought that this year. And that's not necessarily on, I guess it's on everybody. Nobody brought that this year for me. I hope that E3 2018 is maybe a little bit more surprising. PlayStation also has a show, called PlayStation Experience that happens, a few months down the road from E3, so they might be saving some games for that. So I guess we'll keep a look on, but overall, pretty disappointing. I'd like to know your guys' thoughts and opinions on Sony's press conference. For me, it was good. It was not great. If you guys have things that you want to say, I'll definitely respond to them in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. I always appreciate it. If you guys subscribe, you can check out some more of my videos, and I'll have more things coming up, including E3 coverage, as well as future Let's Plays, and some other really cool things coming out. So I appreciate it. If you guys like the video, the likes always help, especially for a smaller channel such as mine. As always, thank you guys for dropping by. My name is MechaWill, and I'll see you guys next time.